We are all going to die one day, and if we have to waste what little time we've got playing video games, they better be the right ones. Today, we're looking at Rules of Survival, a mobile game that claims to be free to play, but is it worth my time? The first game I covered in this series, Modern Combat Versus, was primarily designed for mobile devices, but was also released on PC, which is why I originally covered it. Because that video welcomed so many new people to the channel, I decided to continue looking at free-to-play games, but mostly on the PC side of things. But with the first video being a hybrid game, I'm sure many of you subscribed to find out what mobile games are worth my time. So to satisfy those people, and to look into a market I'm genuinely intrigued by, let's pack up our shit, we're going mobile. Mobile gaming history. So I'll say right off the bat, I'm just a little bit too old to have experienced the rise of mobile gaming firsthand. But I do remember the start of mobile gaming, from the first time I played Snake on my dad's Nokia phone to the ports of Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil on the Razr phone, and not that one. And Dad, if you're watching, sorry I bought those things on your work phone. I didn't know what money was. I was a little child. Sorry. I remember mobile games really starting to emerge around 2007 with the release of the iPhone and, more importantly, the iPod Touch. As a kid, if I wanted to play games on the go, I'd look to handhelds, such as Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, PSP, and so on. But that somewhat changed around this time. The iPhone introduced the App Store with tons of mobile games, and the iPod Touch provided a cheap alternative that could do many of the same things. iPods before this had a few novelty games. I remember playing Sonic the Hedgehog on an iPod Classic, but those devices were never designed to game, and neither was the Touch, really. But the touchscreen that's literally in its name gave game developers a whole new way to try and make games work on mobile devices. Some tried to emulate controller layouts like the game we're looking at today, while others created all new gaming experiences that only worked on touchscreens. Now, I've never been super into mobile gaming. I've probably played Crazy Taxi more than anything. But whenever I'd get a new phone, I would try a few of the latest games just to see what it could do. Oh wow, look at Infinity Blade. My little iPod can run the Unreal Engine. Ooh. Oh wow, my Droid Bionic can play a pretty good looking Call of Duty knockoff. Neat. Stuff like that, but I never really spent any significant time with these games. I bring all this up so you understand what perspective I'm looking at Rules of Survival from. I know there are plenty of younger people that grew up on devices like these, since they have in many ways replaced gaming handhelds, at least for younger kids. And I fully admit that I'm not great at controlling mobile games, so I won't be taking away any points just because of controls in this video. So with all that out of the way and my perspective kind of explained, let's find out if PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is worth my time. Yeah, you heard me. It is PUBG, it's PUBG. It's PUBG on a phone. There, it's been said, and will be said 100 times in this video. This is like PUBG. That is like PUBG, just like PUBG, so get used to it. Rules of Survival is a battle royale style game where over 120 players fight for survival right on your phone. Wow! Okay, that's an exaggerated wow, but that is pretty cool. Battlefield was praised for having 64 players back in the day, but now our phones can have hundreds. So I shouldn't have to explain what a battle royale game is with how popular the modes become, but for those who don't know, I'll go through it real quick.
Battle Royale games usually find a large amount of players dropped into an island or arena with no items, requiring them to search for equipment. As a designated circle gets smaller, forcing players into a smaller and smaller area until one is remaining. It can usually be played solo, with teams, and probably with zombies, but the basic idea usually stays the same.
Simple, right? A natural progression of things like King of the Hill and other game modes, not some revolutionary new concept that requires its own trademark. But its recent explosion in popularity can be attributed to one game, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, or PUBG as the kids say. Honestly, more recently the game Fortnite has taken its throne, but until a popular Fortnite clone comes along, we'll look at the next best thing, a PUBG clone. Now the time has come. I must choose a name that strikes fear into the hearts of my low poly enemies. Anthony CSN, there we go, invalid name. What do you want from me, game? A capital letter, a number? What? Okay, I've done it. Introducing AJP123TVVTV. Why was that okay? AJP123TVVTV is off, as the game drops you right into a tutorial, usually the most annoying parts of these mobile games. But honestly, Rules of Survival is pretty straightforward with theirs. Walk over here, shoot that thing, you're done. It's straight to the point, giving you only 4 steps to remember. Right off the bat, I can say the game looks pretty good, but let's crank it up to max settings. Screw power saving mode! So looking around the game's menus, a few things catch my eye. There's a little box here with a countdown timer and something that says Hot Chit Pack. Jeez, they just get right to the point. At least they're properly dressed this time. Looking around the game's shop, it looks like everything is more or less cosmetic. Things like shirts, pants, hats, and even skins for parachutes and guns, which is a great idea for some additional customization. I guess because you have to pick up your weapons and equipment, they can't really charge you for the best guns. But when you do find certain guns, they have your skins. A nice little touch. There's also this tab over here that says welfare with a box and some gems. Am I the only one that thinks that's kind of messed up? It looks like a list of achievements you can do to unlock free points and loot boxes and stuff, but why call it that? Alright, I hear you. Enough with the game's menus. Let's get to the actual game, okay? You click play, and within a few seconds, you usually find a game. Being one of the most popular mobile games at the time of recording, and being on a device that most people have in their pockets, means the player base is pretty strong. And that's important when you need 100 players in a game, isn't it, Warface? Put up a counter. Put up a counter for real life, how long it took for me to find a match. I'm just gonna let it go, okay? Alright, there's a reason I've been focusing on all that other stuff. Customization, items for sale, welfare stuff, and that's because those are the things that set rules of survival apart. When you get to the game itself, say it with me, it's just PUBG! And honestly, that might be the most impressive part of this game, not the stuff that it does differently, but how well it does things the same. It helps that PUBG isn't particularly unique with basic characters, guns, and buildings, but even then, there were times I forgot I was playing a knockoff. And I ask you, can a knockoff truly reach a higher honor than being mistaken for that which it knocks off? Now you might notice the map here is considerably smaller than PUBG's average size, and I think this is great. Whether it's because of hardware limitations or, you know, good design, it makes the game feel more action-packed. Some of these games choose to make their map a manageable size so people have fun, cough cough. That's one of the many reasons Fortnite is more popular now than PUBG, cough cough. And in Rules of Survival, there are still some times where you're running a bit too long, but at least they are on the right track, cough cough. Well, I just realized this part rhymes, but it says, also a good note right off the bat is to turn off the voice chat. If you've ever played PUBG, no doubt you're aware China #1, and on a phone, it's no different. But I am impressed the game has a full proximity voice chat system, again, just like PUBG. I remember when games like SOCOM on the PSP made a big deal about having voice chat with this bullshit headset. So to me, it's a cool feature that just gets ruined by shitty fucking people. So my first game didn't go all that great. I got lucky and punched one guy to death and then died, just like PUBG. But hey, he had a better gun than me, and I'm still kind of getting used to these controls. Yeah, it's pretty rough, but as I played, I did get more comfortable with it. So just like PUBG, you can pick up several different types of weapons, from shotguns to SMGs, assault rifles, and snipers. There's even melee weapons, like this fucking amazing rubber chicken. The whole chicken thing seems to be the game's kind of identity. They really took the whole winner winner chicken dinner thing and just ran with it. But Mr. Shifty-Eyed Chicken is pretty cool, and I have to admit the Made in China thing got a laugh out of me once. At least the game has a bit of a personality and sense of humor, so it looks like less of a soulless clone. Adding to the game's personality is character skins that seem tame compared to other Chinese games like this. Maybe it's because PUBG is pretty grounded, aside from people running around in their underwear with a frying pan. So you have Jacket Girl and Valentine's Jacket Girl, it's pink, yeah! You can even be a butler if you... Wait, what? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, but it's okay for a woman to be a pirate, huh, game? I see how it is. So for a little bit of direction in this video, let's break down the game like this. Things it does the same as PUBG. Rules of Survival features a large map with the same style of buildings and city environments that look pretty good. A large assortment of guns and add-ons for them like silencers, scopes, and vertical grips. Melee weapons are also plentiful, featuring many things including the totally original frying pan. A series of different vehicles can be found to either drive or ride with teammates. And their controls are janky as fuck, so spot on there, guys. And speaking of teammates, you can play solo matches or in groups, and there's even a zombie mode. Things that are worse than PUBG. Rules of Survival doesn't look as good, obviously, but for the most part, the game is visually impressive and feels like a high-res PSP game on a much larger scale. There are areas where textures overlap looking sloppy, fences and walls are floating above terrain, and this happened to the Osprey once. And some elements at a distance look like an N64 game, but up close the detail is still impressive and, you know, it's on a phone. By the way, I'm playing on a Galaxy S8 in case anyone was wondering, so that's how the game runs on there. Sound glitches can also occur where guns make no sounds when fired, and I swear your footsteps play for a second or two after you stop, leading to plenty of false alarms. There aren't really too many limitations because of the hardware, but I did notice that shooting through cracks doesn't register, maybe an oversight on the design of some of these buildings, and I also noticed guns don't stay loaded when they're dropped, even if you switch to a different gun. Things that are better than PUBG. Now this is going to be a small section, but there are some quality of life changes that Rules of Survival makes. Simple stuff like when you pick up attachments, they go straight on the guns without having to fiddle in menus. Zombies in PUBG are pretty lame, but in Rules they have human detecting vision, a super jump, and the ability to ride little bicycles. Now you can't really call this one better, but the compass here at the top of the screen has little icons that highlight enemy positions and the direction of enemy fire. Really, this is a way to compensate for a muted on-the-go device and only gives you the same information a good set of headphones would. As stated before, there's custom skins on different items, a great feature I could see PUBG adding one day. And while this might be subjective, a smaller overall map leads to more encounters more frequently, meaning more action and less runtime. Rules of Survival is great at copying, but not innovating. But if a game like this came out on the PS2 or early PS3, maybe the whole Battle Royale craze would have happened earlier.
All right, let's go, guys.
Cougar, I got your back.
Roger that.
Jester, you copy?
What's he doing?
Jester?
Jester, hold your fire.
Hey, he almost shot me.
What the?
Jester!
You idiot.
Oh,
I'm out.
me too.
Man, Jester, what's the deal, dude?
SOCOM 2, U.S. Navy SEALs, rated M for mature.
So Rules of Survival, what's the final verdict? Look, it plays well, it doesn't make you pay to win, and even though there are some loot boxes that have countdown timers, they just give you basic gold and don't do that whole play just a little bit each day bullshit. You can just play the game, have fun, and if gaming on mobile is your only option, then Rules of Survival is definitely worth my time. Wait! So this video took way longer than I expected it to, sorry about that guys, but the main reason was when I went to write the script, a major discovery was made. Rules of Survival supports Bluetooth controllers, and this led to the one real problem I have with this game. Controller support makes the game unfair and unbalanced to the average player. I'm sure there's people out there who will argue that touchscreens are just as precise, but most would agree the tactile feeling of a controller in your hands makes gameplay easier, and I have to agree. While some things like the map and picking up specific gear still need the touchscreen, aiming and basic movement are so much more precise it feels like cheating, and in some ways it is. This actually reminds me of the Black Ops 3 PC port. Most players would use keyboard and mouse, but if you used a controller, you'd get a small amount of aim assist, basically making you a dirty fucking cheater! Same thing in Rules of Survival, where the controller has a clear advantage, meaning normal players get screwed over. So while I was almost ready to give this game basically a perfect score for being a full-featured and well-made clone, this one decision makes me question that. It's one thing for a game to have hackers. I'm sure there are some pathetic assholes out there hacking Rules of Survival, like really, that's how you're gonna waste your time in your life? But that's a disadvantage the game developers didn't intend to be in the game. But here they made a choice to make it unbalanced. Was it an oversight or just a standard feature they didn't think mattered? Either way, it's something I wanted you guys to be aware of. And hey, maybe it doesn't really matter, it's just a silly phone game, but fair is fair and the little things need to be called out. So despite a few questionable decisions under the hood, Rules of Survival is still an impressive game that gets very close to what it set out to do. Be PUBG on a phone. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry this video took so long. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I was doing it on a different device or something. No excuse, just took a while to write it out, but I hope you enjoyed what was there, and I thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the show, please hit that like button to support it, and subscribe to the channel if you're not. And also, if you want to go above and beyond, consider supporting me on Patreon. That being said, let's give a special thanks to everyone on Patreon who donated over $5. Usually this is where I cut away to some graphic, but fuck it, this time I'm doing it live. Drew Iterator Rick, thank you so much. Colleen Sikazu, thank you. Xavier Charlotte, thank you. Lauren Savage Alias, thank you. Ammo to Go, thank you. Lady Irish, thank you. Carla Ruiz, thank you. Riley Davidson, thank you. Dave Ventures, thank you. Curtis Wilson, thank you. Luke Cave Water, thank you. Jay Bodane, thank you. Carl Sykes, thank you. JJ Tube, thank you. TJ Grum, thank you. Omar Diaz, thank you. Paul Witowski, thank you. $2 Gaming, thank you. Ryan O'Connell Shadowcloud, thank you. And Frederick Moeller, thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.